Yo, good evening, everybody. How you doing? This is your Coach Renz, and I gotta tell you, I love my life. You know why? I love it because I have tried to shoot this video 4 times. 4 times I've tried to shoot this video, but each time I tried to shoot this video, it just wasn't coming out right. But then I had an interruption. With a customer, and we had a wonderful conversation, and she provided me what I was missing in order to shoot this video. You see, I set myself aside for a moment before she walked in, and I said, okay, I need guidance. I need something's missing, and I need what's missing. And then her and I had this wonderful conversation that provided me what was missing from this video. What was missing from this video to be able to talk about what I'm about to talk about. You see, the fact that I went into meditation for a minute and I asked good quality questions. I asked the quality question of, how can I make this video better? What information am I missing? What thought process am I missing in order to make this better, to get the point across? And then a mere moments later, a lady comes in and we have a wonderful conversation about moving forward, about asking whomever you call God, asking whomever you call the spirits, whomever you talk to, your ancestors, whomever, however you meditate or pray, to come and bring you that information. Not the begging, because one of the things that I had said to her is that I had to purge my Facebook. I had to get rid of some people off my Facebook. But one of the groups of people that I had to get rid of is the God beggars. That's what I call them. I call them God beggars. God beggars to me are the people who every time you look at their Facebook, they're, oh God, please just get me out of this situation. Oh, I'm just so thankful that you just woke me up, and that's all you have to do is just wake me up, even though you got tons of other things going on in your life. And oh, just get me out of this financial struggle. Oh, I'm just gonna type amen and the miracle gonna happen. All those people had to get off my Facebook because the negativity of that was driving me insane. It was bringing my vibration down every day. And I had to remove that because that type of speech can bring your vibration down. So I had to remove those people because they will never, well, I'm not saying never, they may never understand that the Creator, the spirits, your ancestors, and whatever you do to reach the spirit realm, the Creator has set you up like a good parent. You see, I have a 21-year-old, I have an 18-year-old, and I have a 16-year-old. Yes, I know I'm too young for that. I get it. I know, it's okay. But as a parent, my job is to set them up, teach them lessons as they grow. And then one day, once they get old enough, they go out and they apply the lessons. Now, as they mature, sure, they come back and say, hey, Dad, I'm getting ready to buy that car for the first time. I want you to go with me. Hey, Dad, I'm getting ready to get an apartment for the first time. I want you to read the contracts and go with me. And then you give them that advice. You walk them through that next stage. But then later on, when they're getting an apartment, they know what to do. They have the tools because you provided them the tools to go out and do it. You see, that's how it works in your life when it comes to the spirit world. You've been given the tools. You've been shown and given the training of what to do. You don't need to say, God, get me out of this financial position. You can get yourself out of the financial position. You don't have to say, God, help me to be able to be in better health. You can get yourself into better health. I'll tell you something. I wasn't feeling too good about my body. I got up to 260 pounds. 3 weeks ago, I was 260 pounds. And so I decided that I was gonna go 95% vegetarian. 95%. We'll never go 100. Because when I want some meat, I'm gonna have it. But 95% vegetarian. And in 3 weeks, I've lost 22 pounds. 22. Massive numbers there. 22 in 3 weeks, right? I took control. I made a decision. I didn't have to pray for it. I didn't have to beg for it. I didn't have to say, show me this or show me that, because I used to be a personal trainer. I've trained so many people in getting their body in shape that I didn't need to go and beg for the information or beg for the strength or beg for the will. I knew what to do. I knew how to do it. And I just made a decision to do it. And then took the action steps necessary in order to make it happen. That's all I had to do. I didn't have to beg for it. You don't have to beg for it. You know what to do in most cases to make your life better. Now, Is doing a 95% vegetarian diet a difference for me? Did I need to go and do some research? Did I need to meditate sometimes and especially in that first week, because that first week was very difficult? Did I have to do that? Did I have to ask, well, not so much ask, did I have to like pull and for greater strength in it? Sure I did. Because it was new, but I understood the concept. So it's just like when my kids are buying a car, just like when they're getting an apartment for the first time. As a good parent, I will give them more knowledge, but for things that they've done repeatedly, I don't need to consistently teach them. I don't need to consistently tell them. I don't have to tell my 21-year-old about driving. She's been driving for a number of years now. She's more and more experienced at driving. I don't have to tell her about blinkers and lefts and rights and that sort of thing because she's been doing it for a while. Now, let's say she goes and get a sports car. I will give her some instructions on that. She wants a gear shift where she's a manual transmission. I will give her instructions on that. But I don't need to give her instructions on the basic operation of a car. I don't have to do that because she's been doing it, she's experienced. So I didn't have to go and say, well, how do I lose weight? I know how. I just need a little extra oomph, a little extra focus, a little extra motivation. And that was it. And that's all I did. You see, I wrote a book back in 2000. It's called How to Escape Mental Welfare. It's a very short book, 27 pages. Because back then, I was so direct and to the point that I didn't have time to be going over a whole bunch of stuff over and over again. Either you get it or you don't. And I was so frustrated back then with books that were like 300 pages, but only about 70 pages made a difference. Only about 70 pages told you what you needed to know. So I really just wanted to get to the nuts and bolts of it. So I wrote a book called How to Escape Mental Welfare. Now I'm going to put this up here so you guys can see where you can go and purchase this book if you like as an ebook. It's only $5, $4.99, $5. That if you want to purchase this book. But I'm going to read you a small excerpt from this book. This is one of the chapters called How Did I Get Here? Meaning, how do you get into a mindset of mental welfare? You see, the book is based on taking the mindset of a person on welfare and how they feel stuck and how they feel trapped and how they feel like they can't get out of it and that this is just how life is. But I am giving you the tools and the steps to get out of it. But before I get there, I need to get this into your mind of how you got there so that we can move and progress out of it. When I became a personal trainer in 2003, and I had walked away from IT because IT wasn't for me. I didn't like doing IT work. It didn't matter how much money I was making at the time. I just didn't like doing IT work. It's boring to me, right? So no disrespect to any of the IT people. I just found it boring. So I wrote this book, and as soon as I started training people, the first thing I did was make them read this book. If you became a client of mine, the first thing you had to do was read this book before our first training session. The reason why is because I knew I was working on their mindset. I knew for me, I didn't want to keep these people as clients for 10, 20, 30 years. I wanted you to be a client, get it in your mind, know how to do it, and maybe a year or 2 years, you don't have to be a client of mine. You know how to change your life. You know how to organize your mindset. You know how to organize your life. You know how to pull yourself, up to get things done. I didn't want to be your trainer forever. My goal was for you to fire me. So I gave them this book and I worked on them from their mental state instead of just working on their physical state. I used to always tell them, if you can control your body, then you can control your life. If you can control your body, you can control your life. And one of those ways to do that is to control your mind first. The body will go where the mind directs it. So this is one of the excerpts from the book. It's one of the earlier chapters, and I'm gonna tell you, this chapter is very short, called How Did I Get Here? And I call it the first of the month. It's the subtitle for that one. And hopefully I don't bore you with the reading aspect. I'm probably put a little oomph into the reading. But it says, every history teacher I've ever had has always said, you have to know where you've been in order to know where you're going. To be able to manage your mental state, you must first define how you got there. What are the triggers in your life that cause you to develop this state of mental welfare? We can point to many different events in our lives to discern why our lives are the way they are. For example, a woman who is overweight may say, I've had 3 children and I just couldn't get the weight off. Does a woman gain weight during pregnancy? Of course. Does her body chemistry change during pregnancy? Oftentimes it does. Does her life change after the birth of her child? Most definitely. But if she desires to make the change in her body weight, then she must commit to doing so. It's not easy. As a matter of fact, it's downright difficult. The key is her mental state. If her mind allows her to make excuses or try, but she is lazy about losing weight, she will never reach her goals if she truly has one. How does she get there? Society tells us that a woman who has a baby, then she gets fat. Our friends and family tell us that it's okay to eat nothing but fast food and ice cream during this pregnancy. Every other woman you meet will say, I can't get the weight off. And of course, after you try the newest fad diet, it either will work or have a temporary result. As a new mother, she is now without time and energy. Now, I could read you the rest of this, and it goes on to how she gets caught up into that mental welfare of believing those situations, believing that those effects are her life, believing that she can't get it off, and how all the people around her think that, and how the fad diets, they work for a bit, but then they don't. Then she gains it all back, which means it really didn't work. People used to come up to me, a lot of my clients would say, oh, well, I did this diet and it worked for me. And my response was always, if you did that and it worked for you, then why are you the size you are now? Why are you in the health state that you are now? Because all my clients weren't overweight. Some of them were underweight. If it worked for you, then you shouldn't need me, and you should be able to just do that again. But if you can't live the rest of your life continuously adapting that lifestyle, then it's not working for you. This is why getting out of a state of mental welfare is the thing that will work for you. Understanding how to set goals in the way that I have developed how to set goals in my book is not the way you're just writing it on a board. There's a lot more that goes into it. Understanding how to solve problems. You don't just solve the problem. There's a process that we go through in order to solve problems. Understanding pros and cons, negative and positive people, being around you, the mob rule, being around different people. All these things make a huge difference. Your association, your trust, your certainty, communication, being guilty by association. Are you serious about it and going to work? All these things make a difference in your ability to change your life. But if you don't make these changes, then you will find yourself always in a state of mental welfare. Mahatma Gandhi said, the moment the slave resolves that he will no longer be a slave, his feathers fall. He frees himself and shows the way to others. Freedom and slavery are mental states. So I want you guys to understand that. Freedom and slavery are mental states. They're not whether or not you wear chains. They have nothing to do with if you're being oppressed or not. You decide when you are no longer a slave. You decide. I've had so many clients that they have their aha moment. The thing about their aha moment, it happened right then. They had that progression and they think that it was the journey. But it wasn't the journey to the aha moment. Now it was the journey after the aha moment to get to the stage where the results have manifested. But the aha moment happens at an instant. It's the instant that you make a decision, that you change, that your mind says, this is it. The moment you wake up that brand new day and you say, never again, no more. Matter of fact, John Wayne said, tomorrow is the most important thing in life. Comes to us at midnight, very clean. It is perfect when it arrives and puts itself in our hands, hoping we've learnt something from yesterday. I'm not a big fan of John Wayne. My grandfather used to make me watch it all the time because he loved his Western movies. But that's something that John Wayne said that stuck with me, and I put it in my book. We have the ability to change our lives and make it as great as we want. We have to be willing to deal with the consequences and then work ourselves out of it. Let me tell you guys a little story. Many of you see my videos today, and you say, well, if you were coaching and training people for so long, why aren't you a bigger coach and training people now? If you got all this information about business and how to build business, why isn't your company a lot bigger now? Well, I'll tell you. This all stems from two decisions that I made. Now, before I tell you guys this story, understand, I blame no one except myself. I understand the consequences of my decisions and I accept them for what they are. And I also understand that Rome wasn't built in a day. Therefore, it will take time in order for the new manifestations to come about. Now, I don't know when. It could turn in a day. It could take a month. It could take a year. It could take 2 years. Right now, it's been taking about 4 years, but it's okay. Here's the thing. I got divorced in 2008. I rushed into a marriage in 2010. I didn't take the time to get to know the person, but beyond that, when it came to business, she didn't like me coaching because of her insecurities. She didn't like me coaching other women. Most of my clients were women. So I shut down my coaching company at the behest of my now ex-wife in order to make her happy in the marriage. I made that decision. I could have just kept coaching. I didn't have to do that. But the bigger decision that has affected my life the most is that in 2012, when I first started this popcorn company, it was under a different name, but when I first started this company, it was placed in a very good location. But because of fear, I did a 1-year contract. Not my fear. Because of her fear, we did a 1-year contract. At the end of that 1-year contract, a bigger company wanted my space. Who did the landlord go for? The bigger company. Now at that time again, I had other investors who were interested in what I was doing because we had had a phenomenally great year. They wanted to invest. Their investment would have allowed me to get into a bigger and better location, more in the heart of the city. But after the numbers start rolling in as to what it would take to get into those locations, they kept backpedaling and backpedaling and backpedaling. And even when I knew that I should have left them alone and went to another space that I knew would be good, I didn't. Because I was trying to make sure everybody else was happy. I ended up being forced into a location that turned out to be horrible. I learned a lot about my business. I learned what kind of customers will support this business and what kind won't. Unfortunately, I was in a place where those customers will not support this business. I lost a lot during those 3 years that I was under that lease. I lost my vehicles. I lost my place the place I dwelled in. I lost a lot. I lost a lot of time. I had to get rid of almost every employee. I kept one. I lost a lot until the 3.5 years were up on that contract and I was able to move into my current location. And of course that means it's a restart. Whose fault was that? It was mine. It was no one else's fault. I'm sure that in your life you've experienced something where you have to deal with the consequences for over a long period of time. I had to deal with those consequences for the 3 years that I was in a poor location. And now I'm still dealing with the consequences, but guess what? In 8 months, this store is already doing better than what the other store did at the 3-year mark. The amount it made per month at the 3-year mark, I have surpassed that months ago. The reason why is because now I know better. I make decisions that are better for this company. I make better decisions in my coaching. I restarted my coaching company 6 months ago, and I've done better with working with my clients and scheduling and dealing with them and helping them. Because even though I shut my company down, I still kept training my employees, making their lives better, and utilizing those techniques. I've implemented them into my coaching today, which makes me a better coach in itself. So although I went through a trial period, it was a trial period of my own making. I'm sure you've had those before, but I'm sure you've also have come out of those things before. You've grown through those things. You've learned lessons from those things. But what can keep you in a state of mental welfare is you repeating those things. I was recently told by one of my spiritual advisors that if I go back to being that person, then my life will consistently repeat itself, and I cannot allow that. So I may have to make sure that I am not that person, that I will never ever be that person again. You see, I cannot make decisions that I know or will adversely affect me going into the decision. I have to use the tools that I was given. I went back and I read my own book over and over again a few years, for a couple of years, for the last few years, to make sure that my mental state would not be in a state of mental welfare. And that's what I want you guys to be able to do for yourself. Get your mindset out of a state of mental welfare. I could read you a lot more about this book. One of the things that I put in here is that, I don't even know where this is, but it said, if there is anything in your life that you wish to change about yourself, your income, your job, you're not moving in that direction, and you're not moving in that direction, then you are in a state of mental welfare. If you don't accept that you're in this mental position, then you are in grave danger of remaining there forever. In order for you to move forward in your life, we are going to discuss the following principles to change your attitude. Because attitude definitely determines your altitude. Excuses, setting goals, positive and negative thinking, associations, and execution. Those are the things we're going to talk about. Understanding understandings of these items are required in order for you to make the necessary change to escape this prison. Your mind may be in a prison, and I want to give you the key to unlock the doors. I want to give you the pathway to walk out of that prison, to be able to live your life at the fullest, to grow and become the greatest versions of yourself that you've never seen. Even if you are doing well financially, even if you are doing well with your health, doing well with your marriage, doing well with your children, there are areas in your life that you can do greater, that you can be greater. And I want you to have those tools. I want you to be a part of this growth. So if you like, please go order the book, read the book, implement the things of the book. And what you will also see on my page is my coaching programs. If you believe that I can be of service to you and make your life greater, make everybody around you's life greater, then I implore you to sign up for any of my coaching programs, but definitely buy this book. Let it change your life. Let it change your mind, change your life. It is only 27 pages. You can read it in an hour. So you guys remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable.